Very good afternoon, friends, ladies and gentlemen. We are here to talk about how to make skills aspirational in schools. Often we hear that vocational education or skills carries stigma. And more than often we hear that it's always the last choice for an individual. If there's nothing available, let me take up vocational. All of us sitting here recognize the importance of vocational education because we feel that that's the best way for preparing for a productive job. But it does not appeal to the student population, neither to the parents. If you ask a school-going child, what is it that you want to become when you grow up? The answer would never be, I want to become a carpenter, an accountant, a plumber, or auto mechanic. Ask the parents what they would like to see their children once they grow up, what they would like them to become. And you'll be surprised if the answer is anything else but engineer, doctor, or an MBA. So the biggest challenge in the skilling space is people who need these skills do not have any desire for these skills. And the reason being that one is that the social standing of skills versus the mainstream is not there. And secondly, the standard of life which is associated with a skills-related job is definitely not comparable with a white-collar job. So that's one big challenge. The second challenge which I would like to put across here is that the current system does not allow vertical mobility. So what does that mean? If I do vocational, I stay in vocational. I mean, I have come across a lot of these diploma holders who want to pursue MBA, who want to do masters, who want to do PhD, but they can't get admission into MBA because they don't have the graduate degree. So that becomes a bottleneck for them with no vertical mobility, but the aspirations to acquire qualification. Therefore, what becomes a safe path? Get into the mainstream. Do your general education. And if you want to acquire skills, go to some of the institutes, learn IT, learn fashion designing, learn whatever it be, but never a focused approach in learning the vocational skill. The third aspect I would like to bring here in front of esteemed audience is the lack of link with industry. Now, if the industry is not there, how do we know what is it that we need to train these students on so that they become ready for the job? We want to prepare them for the work, but we don't even have the industry linkages. A large number of people work in the unorganized sector, as Dr. Jaina also mentioned. Do we have linkages with them? No is the answer. So how can this kind of an education really attract people where at the end of it, on completion of the program, the industry disowns them, does not even recognize them? So the list goes on. But I would like to stop here on the top 3 challenges that's facing vocational education in schools to start with. However, there's lots that happened over the last few years, and government has taken several measures to eliminate or at least reduce the challenges that are being faced in these 3 areas. So we have NVQF framework, which is now called the National Skills Qualification Framework, which at least addresses few of the challenges that's there. One, definitely, it brings a parity with the mainstream education by defining the various levels and saying, okay, level 1 would be equivalent of class 9 and so on and so forth till level 10. So that's the first step that is being taken towards that. The second is, we talked about the vertical mobility. Under this framework, a student who pursues vocational education will have the flexibility to move into the mainstream education and vice versa. So that also gets addressed through this. When we talk of industry linkages, the sector skill councils have been set up who are interacting with the industry. And in fact, industries are actually the sector skill councils. And they are setting up the national occupational standards. They are defining the competencies that would be required for the various roles. And therefore, if we look at these initiatives, it seems the background work or the groundwork has been done, has been laid. So now what is the next step that would be required? It will be implementation. And implementation has always been the biggest challenge. If I look back I think almost 1.5 years ago, the NVQF was announced, through which, the process was started to invite skill knowledge providers, to invite institutions for affiliation, but it's not taken off the ground. So implementation, timely implementation, time frames defined for implementation would be critical. That's one. Second, I think there's lack of awareness as far as the target profile is concerned. There's lack of awareness as far as all the stakeholders are concerned, whether it be industry, whether it be the children who need to go through vocational education, or the parents, and even the state administration. So there are bits and pieces of information available at various places, but not in totality. As a result, you talk to one set of people, they are completely unaware, the other may be knowing a little, and therefore nothing progresses, nothing moves. So there has to be a very, very massive awareness campaign around such initiatives that have been taken by the government, so that people know what is the benefit that they can get once they get into vocational education. And of course, with the sector skill councils, we have the industry linkages, so that's also there. Now, it is up to us to see that the implementation goes on well. In pockets, I would say, things are progressing. So in partnership with NSDC, we have been doing vocational programs in 25 schools of Himachal Pradesh. And there are other initiatives also that have been taken. However, much more is needed. And I'm sure the success of it will be measured only when the industry starts recognizing the competency certificates that are issued to the students, and they say, yes, we welcome them in our industry. That will be the success measurement. When students start coming for it and say, this is not my last choice, but it could be my first choice as well, that will be the measure of success for all of us. So we'll wait for that day, but I hope it is not too far in the future, for the benefit of all of us and the country, because we are talking of demographic dividend, which we need to reap. Thank you very much.